Hello? Hello. Connor? Queco? Harand? Right. How are we all doing in this pleasant weather that we find ourselves in? How's the camera? I've been messing around with the camera settings. Basically to try and lock the exposure so that the flickering lights in the background don't keep sending it haywire. But that does mean it is now a little bit dark. Too dark? Because I could basically, I have a key light here, so I can make it brighter, but it also, like, it is right in my eyes, so I can, that is very much blinding. So if I just dial that down a bit, it's like, I don't know, 50%. Okay, cool. It did mean that because I was messing around with the setting, I filmed a new video, and I was lucky enough to film it twice because I dialed the manual settings into the camera wrong and didn't realise until I'd after filmed for an hour. So the video is so good, I filmed it twice, and I'm now halfway through editing. So I'm hoping that'll be out maybe at the weekend, depending on how much time I get. Mr. Personi YouTube, glad you're here. Lollapalooza, hello. Dapster, hello. Costless, hello. The project's going good. We got some exciting progress updates today. I did do a little bit off stream in the sense that I fixed the maths woes that we had last time. I will concede that I did have to ask the Oracle at one point, and basically the long and the short of it was Harand was right and I was wrong, and the multiplication order for the quaternion component should have been Z, Y, X, and I don't know why I took it upon myself to reverse them. But I've also checked in my makefile with the script that allows me to instantly switch to the game, so I now can do make run stream, and hopefully this will work. But I feel like I feel like the cameras need to be moved over a little bit. I'll try and move them. Right, but yeah, so we've got a gun. It moves with us. It has horrific SAO artifacts, but we still have a gun. I need to move the camera. Hang on a second. How's that? That's a bit more central now. There you go. So yeah, we be gunning, and then I also took it upon myself to rebuild all of the debug UI renderer stuff. So it all looks the same mostly, but and I know it's a little bit small on this screen, but basically this is now the scene view. The post-processing view is now separate and tabbed, so it's easier to work with. The scene has this list here is all the entities in the scene, and so you can select them, and that will select them within the game. The gun is actually upside down, but I couldn't be able to fix that. I thought it'd be fun just to see. But everything else is kind of still the same. What the game now does is if your entity has no renderable entities, it will render a little yellow square, which you can then click on. So this selects the player. The inspector on the right is kind of gutted, and we need to add that functionality back, but I ran out of time, so I thought we could do that live as we need to. But yeah, and also like moving this doesn't actually affect, well, it moves the gun, but it doesn't move that doesn't percolate down to the character controller, which is fine. And then this all still moves and stuff. And then we can still toggle the post-processing effects within the editor. But, so that's all, I'm pretty pleased with that. But I kind of want to, someone mentioned last stream, and it's kind of a thought that stuck with me, is that you should be able to someone said like, you should just make it so you can attach anything to anything. And like, the sentiment I agree with, the specifics I don't. What I want is for anything to be able to be attached to an entity. So at the moment we can attach rigid bodies and renderable entities to an entity. I think we should also be able to attach cameras and lights. And so basically this character controller should kind of all collapse down to just an entity with a gun attached to it and a camera attached to it, and then the player actor just drives that top level entity and everything works from that. We can then attach a light to it if we wanted to. We could have that flicker, you know, flash on and off when we shoot. I think there's kind of a lot of interesting stuff we can do. So my goal today is basically to delete this gun, right, because this is hard coded, and have it so that through the editor we can select the player entity, automatically add a child entity to it, which is the gun, and then move that around so that it's not just in the center. So we should be able to have the control, so we can move it to the right and down and angle it. That is my goal, right? Is I want us to be able to have full control over where that is, and have that serialized to the file, so that when we load back in, like, we always get the same thing. So there's a little bit of work to do today, but basically, I think something like this. This should stay. Yeah, sorry, no, this will stay, but it should pick up all the other stuff that we've got with it. So that's the plan. How far am I planning to go with the project? I don't know until until such time as I think it's gone as far as it can, which is a bit of a terrible answer. I don't really know. I want to have, my kind of vision as it is now is to have like all the mechanical parts for an FPS. So we should still have, like, we need proper like shooting mechanics and collision detection and ray intersection and particle effects. We should have skeletal animation, we should have hitbox detection, we should have sound, we should have all those kind of things. So all the bits that we could then make a game, and then I think I'll just take a view on it then, and if that kind of like vertical slice is done, then we might move on to another project, or it might be that we think there's a kind of if gameplay naturally emerges out of what we're doing and we think it's fun, then I don't see why I wouldn't pursue that. If after we built all this stuff no gameplay has really emerged, I think that would be a good point to stop and then plan a proper game for the next project and reuse all this code that we've written, so we can just focus on gameplay. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. What do you think about AI models for offset research? I don't really know what offset to mean. Offensive research? I mean, they're pretty good. Like, I think the models now are pretty good, especially for research stuff. So yeah, I mean, like, I think you can do quite a lot with it in quite a small amount of time. If you find value in it, then you find value in it. I find value in some AI, so you know, I don't really have a lot more to say on that. Let me show you the debug renderer quickly, because it's actually, I'm hoping this is the debug renderer's final form. So still got some chop at the beginning, helper stuff. So basically the way it works now is we still do all the same debug line drawing and everything like that. We still draw the boxes, draw the lights. What's changed now? So all this chuff is the same. So we have the ImGUI set up, right? But what has now changed is all those windows you see are now individual functions, right? So they're all, and then you have just the intersection stuff tied up at the end. So if you go down here, all the ImGUI misery, right, is basically contained to each function. So I find this a lot easier to work with now. You know, if we want to change what the logs do, then we know where it is and we just change this function. I find this, then every new window we have, right, just becomes a new function here. I think that's going to be kind of all right. Okay. So I think I've got a clean working tree. So what's the first thing to do? I think we need a way of, I think the inspector needs to change, right? So at the moment we can select an entity, so the player has an inherent entity. Is the log file .log or .text? I don't think it's any, I think it's just called log. So the inspector needs to probably be able to show all the sub entities, right? So let's think about this. So entity has now, oh, that's another thing I did. I made a generic storage manager for storing things that need to be stored in a sparse set and be made global. Now has a top level storage. I started calling it store manager, but I think that's more of a job role than a sort of component of a game. So you can insert stuff, get the handle back, and remove it. So there's no string association with this. It's literally just a wrapper around sparse set that you can slap into the service locator. And then if we now look at like entity manager, this just extends storage manager. Possibly, yeah. So. Hang on, I do have another. Yes. Just close this other Vim instance I've got running in the background. Okay, fine. Okay, so and then the reason I subclassed it rather than aliased it is because then it makes the service locator work. I found that the service locator was being a bit funny when you forward declared an alias, but forward declaring a concrete class, it seemed to be fine. Oh, and I also created a light manager. So all the lights now are just held in a global array or a global sparse set. So scene no longer owns. I'm trying to move ownership out of the scene. So the scene no longer owns entities. It doesn't own render entities. It doesn't own lights. Scene is just kind of like, again, like a view on things we want to render. Scene might go away in the future if we find that it's just easier just to shove everything in the global array. I haven't decided yet, but for now. So for now, light manager is like the single source of truth. You can't add something into the light manager and not have that light rendered. Yeah, so this does make things quite a bit well, it was easy anyway because we had a sparse set within scene, but within renderer where we do the light pass, we can basically do we just get so a scene owns the ambient light, which I think is fair, but the lights we just get from we get all the contiguous array of lights from the light manager, and then we just squirt those into a buffer and then send it on its way. No, my goal is not to build a Unity or Unreal type of engine. My goal is to build a game with all the from scratch as much as possible, with all the tooling around it that allows me to make that one specific game. So if Unreal could only be used to make one game, then yes. But the whole point is that this is not designed that you can take and make your own game. This is purely for making this one specific game, which may not really be a game at the end of it. It might be generic enough that we can then make another game with it afterwards, but I'm not focusing on... I think I'll just burn out if I try and add every single feature that any game would need, right? So we're only writing apart from a few self-indulgent side quests, we're only writing the code that we need right here, right now, to solve the problem we have before us, right? So I think a good example of this is like our vector class, like our maths vector 3, didn't have like scalar division for like months because we didn't need it. So there's no point adding it until we needed it. I think if you want to learn stuff, right, it's always good to kind of like make those mistakes yourself and kind of go on that journey. And I think using AI as like a tutor, especially if you don't have like a community around you, or you don't have, you're not in a professional environment where you can kind of get those code reviews, then I think kind of using AI to supplement that is probably a good use of it. I think just getting AI to write the code for you might get you to the solution, a solution quicker, but might not get you to the understanding quicker. Yeah, exactly. We're just going to keep building on this. This may eventually be an engine, because each game project will build on the last, and maybe after like one or two more projects, we'll be able to tease something out into what looks like an engine. But for now, it's all kind of grossly entwined. Right, what am I doing in my life? I want to... Let's go to main. Okay. So where do we add the gun? So I think we kind of want to get rid of this. Basically... I'm just going to comment this out for now. Eventually we want the player to go as well when we serialize it, but for now we want to the goal now is to be able to get back to what I showed you at the beginning with that gun attached and moving with it, but entirely through the editor and not hard coded. So I think that's our immediate goal. So let's see if we can work out what gets us to that. Audio's out of sync. That's on Twitch. Anyone can confirm or deny? There's not a lot I can do about it. Maybe refresh your browser. Right. Okay. So the gun is gone. Right. So there is no gun. There is no spoon. But I need to work out how to set which of these windows are rendered by default, because it keeps changing and it really annoys me. So what I want now is I want to be able to click on the player, and here I have one that says add rigid body. I think I need something here that says add render entity with a list of entities that are in that are kind of preloaded in the render entity manager. The thing with that is that render entities themselves, Quecco's already got it, doesn't have the ability to have a local transformation relative to the parent. Only entities do, and I think that's how it should remain. I don't want to keep duplicating that logic over everything. So I think you can add whatever you want to an entity, and it will just be wherever it is relative to that entity. And if you want to move that offset, you'll have to add it first to a child entity. So I think we'll do... Let's go from the bottom up. Let's add the gun first, okay? And then that won't be able to move, and then we'll get that committed, and then we'll add the ability to add a sub-entity. So let's go... let me close some of these tabs down. So let's see if I can get this working. Great. Oh, okay, we're here. Okay, so this is one of my new favorite websites. This is a online version of ImGUI with all the widgets in it. And so it gives you the C++ code that you need to write them. So I'm going to be referencing this because I can never remember what it is, but this is really, really useful if you want to know what all the widgets are and then have the ability to kind of play with them. So let's go to debug, renderer, so inspector. So what I need to do is I need a drop down list of combo. No. Ooh. Yes, I want a combo box, I think. There's kind of two reasons why I went for C++. One is definitely familiarity. It's the language I know the best. Judge, you can then, therefore, seeing based on what you've experienced on my C++, you can then kind of infer how good I am at other languages or not. So one is definitely familiarity, and two is it is a good tool for this particular problem, right? It's a low-level systems language with first-class support for C API interoperability, low-level memory allocation, and then all the other stuff on top of that, primitives and effective paradigms and idioms for kind of getting a lot of stuff done. So yeah, I guess there's kind of there's two answers to that, and templates as well, which let's be honest is the reason I use C++, because no other language kind of gives me that level of misery. And that's really what I'm after. Okay, so I think before rigid body, we will do... So that's the entity name. So I think here, what we're going to do is we're going to do if imgui... I don't know if I need the if, because I think I always want it on imgui begin combo add render entity, add render entity. It's technically group, and then what are my arguments for this? What's my I don't know what my flags are. It's going to leave this as is, and then we'll figure it out later. And then I'm going to assume somewhere along the line I'm going to need... Oh no, it is going to need to be if, because I guess that's if you've interacted with it, isn't it? Somewhere I'm going to need... Only if it's there do I want to end it. Okay. Learn both, like if time permits. I think like learning any new skill is not wasted time or effort, right? So you kind of really have to ask yourself what is the end goal. If the end goal is more employment opportunities or looking to change role, then you really kind of need to do the research of what language is most prevalent in the industry that you want to go in, and then probably focus on that. If it's for funsies, then try both out over a couple of evenings and see which one you think is more fun, then focus on that. I really couldn't tell you, like I'm really not here to evangelize C++ and say it's in any way better than anything else. Like for you personally, like, and it's your free time and you want to do it for enjoyment, then like give both a try and see which one you think is more enjoyable. Like I know like which one I would pick, but then that's kind of clouded by my own, you know, experiences. Okay, I'm gonna want a bunch of C strings here, I think. So what does render entity manager give us? So this doesn't give us a way of getting the groups. So render entity manager is slightly different to the other managers because render entities are kind of semantically grouped together. When we unpack the FBX file and get all the bits out for like a section of the level, that section of the level will have different meshes within it, but they are kind of holistically one thing, right? So they come in as parts, but we group them together by name. So when we get a bunch of, we basically say for this name, whenever you refer to like hallway section B, it should refer to these entities, and it doesn't really make any sense to pull those out separately. I don't like C-Stro. Like if you have to pass something into a C API, you don't really have a choice, right? Of which ImGUI is kind of a very C focused library. It's not what I would use as a vocabulary type for my interfaces. I would use string view, unless it has to be null terminated, in which case I'd use std_string, C string view n. But I'm not inherently opposed to C-Stro. Like I said, it is sometimes all you have. We are going to have a bit of a problem here though, in that I will need to convert these to strings to guarantee the null termination, which is a little bit sad. Oh no, wait a minute. String map is keyed on std_string, so that's fine. We can risk it. Okay, so I get a bunch of entities and associate them with the name, and then from that name I can get back all the handles for it. So these entities become handles, or for a given handle, and then if those subhandles, I can get the actual entity back. So what do I want here? I want to get these names. So I think what I need to do is do const expr auto groups, and that should be a... I think it's going to be a vector. I think we're going to have... We could return a view. So what we could do this. We could do return entity groups std views keys, right? In fact, actually, sorry, no, that would be entity groups, right? So that will return a range of some rando type into that read only I think that's what we want. It's just the type would be a bit strange because it'd be like a stud views keys type, but I think we'll probably be fine with that. Returning ranges is always a bit nasty because you're kind of forced to auto type deduction. But a span over what? Do you know what I mean? Because this will effectively be an iterator, right, under the hood, right, begin in a sentinel, and then when you enumerate whatever object this returns, it will know to go to this object and just go through all the keys. So it is a view, it is non-owning. So if I was to convert it to a span of string views, who would own those string views? So it'd have to be a vector of string views, if that makes sense. Like the ownership is kind of key here. So do I want to do a memory allocation here? I probably don't care, but like this way we'll avoid that. It'll just be lazily evaluated. I'm kind of tempted to keep it like this just to see the ergonomics of it, because I'm going to have to do a transform here anyway, right? Because I'm going to want to do Oh, Trixie, I think I'm going to want to do for const auto name name in rem groups. And then do if im GUI selectable name dot Sistra false. I don't handle the logic in there. See if it likes that. God, okay, I do need to give it some flags, do I? Okay, fine. It needs... what's the preview value? Pass in the preview value visible before opening the combo. It could technically be a different contents or not pulled from items. No. Because I'm lazily evaluating it, I cannot get it I cannot get one of those group names a priori. So I guess see if that explodes. I'm sure it's built. God, it's hot. Fuck me. Right. Put a shirt on for this. Okay, I don't really like that. Oh, I see. It's what appears there. So we could probably just leave that as an empty string. I think it's just until you've selected something, what is the default value? So here, I should be able to be like, yeah, select one, I think might be good. In fact, actually, just maybe the name of the thing you want to select? I don't know, but is Skyfire Rifle in here? I probably want to sort these. Right. Obviously, I don't have the logic for selecting them yet. So let's do... can I do... I do use debuggers, and my recommendation depends entirely on your operating system. For Windows, I would probably recommend x64 debug. The thought of using WinBag gives me a stomachache. And on Linux, GDB for me. I know a lot of people like LLDB. I just have the GDB muscle memory so entrenched, like in my brain, that I can't really use anything else. So can I to sort those, right? Stood optional with value or for default value for selection. It's probably going to be something like that. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what. So what the next thing we need to do. So if it's selected. So, oh my goodness, we're really using all the ranges today. That is enumerated. Okay. And then auto selected equals stood optional stood size t. Probably make that static. And then const auto what's it called? Preview str equals if it's selected, then shoot, this is I don't think you can index into that array, into that range. I don't. No, you won't be able to, because sorting will have to happen first. Okay, fine. So we might have to do const auto items equals stood ranges sort rem.groups type to stood ranges to stood vector, something like that. And then we can do items selected else select one s. So this then becomes, oh, what flags I want? Oh, that's about setting height and stuff. Don't care about any of that. Go away. Preview str dot c str. Okay, so then we can do if you select it, then selected equals index. And at the point where you do select it, we're going to want to do the logic for adding the render entities by name. So that will then become entity. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Can I even do this after the fact? Can I actually add render entities after it's started? I think you can construct it with them. Oh, yes, makes it a stood string. Yes, sorry. SV gives you a string view. Nah, do it on select. Live dangerously. It's just extra logic. In fact, actually, that does mean you don't want it left on the last one that you selected, right? You want it always to default to selected one, because you're going to drop down and click it, and you don't want it to remain there, because if you want to add the same one again, that would be weird. So I think actually we might get away with not even tracking the selected. So I'm puzzling this out as I go along, right? So then that stays like that. Don't worry about that, and then we'll just add it here. So I don't even need this. So entity needs a way of so you've got add rigid body. So So we want const expr auto add render entities. Do we do this by name, and then this internally uses the render manager, the render entity manager, to resolve them, or do we just pull out the handles? I think you want to pull out the handles. I think so. I think you want to add render entities. Stood span. Maybe not const render entity handle render entities, right? Something like that, and then we'll take that and go down to render entities. And then this should then be render entities dot append range render entities. I don't know if we need to then do anything with them. I don't think we might need to recalculate our AABB. I will do that now, only because, but I do think that our AABB will eventually go away because I'm going to hand it all over to the AABB. At the moment is used purely for clicking, so broad phase, did you click this entity and then go through the triangle intersection? That's all going to go away when I'm going to hand it over to Jolt at some point in the future, but I guess for now it's kind of fine. And update transforms should continue to work. Okay, so I should now just be able to do entity add render entities rem name That's fun. That's kind of one that's hard to mispronounce in a humorous way. I don't even know how I'd say it. I guess ab. ABBA for anagram lovers? I don't really know. What have I done? Why isn't it like my sort? Rude. Does this have to be reified first? Certainly does not like my sort. Yeah. I bet it doesn't like the iterator. Well, should tell me which. Here we go. Not. That doesn't make any sense to me. Bidirectional tag is not a base of stood forward iterator tag. Bidirectional tag is more powerful than forward iterator. Yeah, you probably can't. Yes, I guess you're right, because what would you be sorting? Oh, that's just a quality of life. Deal with that later. I guess if it's sorting in place, it has to have some storage to sort. Uh-oh. Right. Convert. Stood span. Cannot convert a vector of render entity handles to a span of render entity handles. Something missing const? Probably constness, yeah. Is the in place back going to try and move them. I guess move will be a copy in this place. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm glad you're enjoying it. The magic sometimes wears off when it gets frustrating, but I do try and keep it reasonably lighthearted. Oh, well, over halfway through my water and not halfway through the stream yet, so that bodes well. Right, okay, so let's... Why is this... Let's just really do my Sweden, but I'll sort that out later. Right, okay, select the player, select Skyfire Rifle. Really regretting not making this alphabetical now. Also, the scroll wheel doesn't work, so I don't know if you guys can see this. You definitely can't if you're on vertical. Oh, that. Boom. Right, so now if I move... Yes! Yeah, oh, I've been raided. Hello. Hello, welcome Twitch people. You've joined a interesting time. I'm hoping progress is going to be made. Okay, so... There must be several submeshes in here, because this is the submesh view. I know, right? I just... I spent all day looking at the sun. I'm used to squinting. Yes, we're getting there, we're getting there. Right, okay, so now I can move this guy over with the physics, smash myself against the wall, go back to here, and right, that is definitely moving with him. Is it rotating? So hang on, that's... I think it is, yeah, it is. Okay, so now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to select the gun. Look up. Yeah. That's definitely a jaunty angle embedded in his skull. So now, right, I think that's... I'm pretty pleased with that. So let's just give that a little comment. Where are we at? Add ability to add more render entities. Return groups from render entity manager, and then add render entity via add render entity via debug UI. Okay, so now we need to basically throw that away again, and add a middleman, right? So we want to be able to first create a sub entity and add the gun to that, and then use that sub entity, stay with me, to then position it. So back to, oh yeah, making loads of progress today. Right. So I think we basically just want if imgui button, right, add child entity. If you press that, then you will get const auto handle equals em dot insert. I changed register entity to insert because it's more generic when you go via the new night shift manager, store manager, whatever it's called, storage manager. So this will have a name, which I guess would just be that stirred format. How do I create a unique name? Entity name. That's not how that works. child static static auto counter equals 0ZU child, and then we'll do entity name plus counter started 0, a child 0, sure, why not? That's gonna we should probably template this to use perfect forwarding, and then that I think it's no entities and then a default transform, and then that'll give us the handle, and then we should then be able to do entity dot to add child. And then I think what we want to do is we want to do selected equals the new one, right? Oh man, what are you doing to me? That's not what I asked for. Well, actually, this is exactly what I asked for. It's just not what I wanted. Static session formatter must be specialized for each type being formatted. Pretty sure. Oh, wait a minute. I bet that's a function, isn't it? So it's like I can't forward that as like a function, reference pointer, whatever you want to call it. Maybe the gun should just get progressively bigger and heavier the longer you play. Okay, so we select that. I have just realized an issue. When I add the child entity, it's going to presumably put a yellow box on exactly the same place as here, but we'll see. Nope, it's put it at the origin. Fine. So can I... Why is that not rendering with a little yellow square? It's definitely selected, but it should have no... But I should be able to add... I'll find that Blaze Sci-Fi Rifle again, hang on. Yeah, ooh. Right, add that to that. It's got the right idea. There's definitely boxes, there's definitely AABBs around it, but there's... Why is it not rendering? Why is it not rendering? Oh! Do you have to add it to the scene first so it's rendered? How does lighting work? It's a deferred renderer. So we fill out gbuffer and then we just do one pass over all the lights, and then using gbuffer do a lighting pass. I think I need to do scene dot add handle. Scene to add. I guess the question here is, I'll get to it in a second, hang on. Does the scene need an exclusive list of... Yes, the scene still needs an exclusive list of anything that's going to... So again, the scene still needs to know everything that's going to be rendered, right? So even if you add a child entity, if you want that to be rendered, the scene still needs to know about it. But however, because it's handle based, you can cheaply store that handle in a child entity and use that to manipulate it in its position and stuff like that. But the scene still needs to know about it. And I'm going to have to figure out how to toggle the snapping, because I only want snapping for the level. I don't want snapping for anything else, so that's going to need to be I don't know where that would go. Or if it's just like if you're holding down control, you don't get the snap. Anyway, well, all future Nathan problems. That guy's an idiot. You can deal with those then. Oh, neck and neck on Twitch and YouTube. Right. So these are at the bottom here. You got the various G buffer parts, and then the lighting kind of comes together after that. Right, add a child entity, which is now drawing it. Okay, fine. Now let's add. This is fun for everyone, I know. Sci-fi rifle. Okay. So now if I move that up and move it out and move it like that. Oh, it's gone. It's gone. What's it doing up there? That's not what I asked for. Whoa. It's gone. Okay, there's a bug. ImGUI doesn't yet support... I have not wired in the keyboard input into ImGUI yet, but yes, I should probably do that. Okay, let's trace that through. In fact, actually, let's keep it entirely in the editor to start with, because I could move the parent entity. I know it doesn't currently affect the character controller. I don't really know how to reify that, but let's add anything, right? So let's add that, add the child entity. That is now selected. Move you up. Select, is there something, can I just add the sign? Okay, well, that's not particularly useful. There's a little, I don't know if you can see it here, there's a little sign there, it's just easier to get to. So if I select the parent, that is too small, but if I'm, yeah, as soon as I grab that handle, it buggers off. As well as, I think, the child entity. There's something wrong with here. There's something very wrong here with the passing down the transformations. So I think the easiest way to see this is if I just add another child entity, right? And then I move, yeah, what's going on there? Okay. So let's do entity. When I... How do I set the transform? Because those are private members, are they not? Is this the one that has to be here? Okay, fine. So the entity, for the entity, you will basically say, here is the transform. Here is the new absolute transform, right, in world space, right? And we can see that working because the parent yellow box moves as we would expect it. So for each child, we set its parent transform. Well, we know this works for rigid bodies, right? Because we can move them fine in the level editor. So what is different about this? So child set parent calls update transforms with its local transform. That seems fine. I'll tell you what it's not doing though, as far as I can tell. It's not recursing into grandchildren, right? So we call this on the parent. We go through its children and call set parent transform, but set parent transform never calls back into set transform to call it on its parents. And this calls update transform here. So I wonder if should this I need to set the parent transform, right? Oh, so complex, so complex. And then do I then do child set transform with something? No, it can do it in update transform. So you want to then do basically this. Child update transform. No, child set transform. Yes, so but I won't know what their new absolute transform is, right? All I've done is I've moved the parent across, right? I've calculated its new world space transformation, so that's where it calls set transform. So I think this needs to call update transform for it, doesn't it? Update transform. No, I just need to set parent transform, right? Equals my new transform. Yeah. This is gonna be this is the next hour, I predict. No match reference, but yeah, I mean I could do a slightly better error messages there. And yeah, doing it for rigid body is a real. I feel like I shouldn't have to do this more than once. Do you know what I mean? I do wonder if like I need like an apply transform instead of set transform. So I update my when I apply a transform. I suppose I only get the absolute transform out at the end, don't I? Yeah, it will need it for rigid bodies. Nice. It's not recursive yet. I don't. Let me see if I can get it working first, like with just like the base implementation, and then we'll go and refactor afterwards because I don't like this. No match for Why do you not like that? Oh, is it forward referencing? Is it? Do I need to move this out into the CP file? It's a circular it's a circular dependency with the fact that entity manager has to include entity, but entity then needs to use entity manager. I think I just got to shift it over to the CP file. But yeah, the logic needs to be tighter. It needs to be able to. There needs to be a function which updates itself entirely, and then by calling that on the child also updates itself. Alright, let's just see if we can get this working first. Add child entity. Right, so let's just do it with this first. So if I can move you up, if I move... No, okay, fine. It's as soon as I... Oh, it's up here. Have you seen that? There's a weird offset somewhere. This is the player. I assume rotating it also gives it... Okay, so I can rotate it, but... Oh, why is it now working? And can I move this relative? Whoa, no, it does not like... it does not like that. So that seems okay. But moving this absolutely freaks out. So it's this then. So why... Yeah, we're trying to basically create a parent-child hierarchy for the entities. So that should set the parent transform. We set that. That comes back to update transform, which is the local on the parent. That calculates the new transform. Do I even need to store these anymore? When the debug render calls entity to update it, what does it call? Yeah, that's a good point. So this will be in Gizmo. And then, okay, select entity. So when you've got an entity selected, when you are using it, you just call entity set transform. So you call this with the new absolute transform, I think, because you give it the entity's transform, you then mutate it in world space, and then you get that back out and you say, this is why we have set transform rather than like offset or like apply, because you get given the absolute, which we know works for the parent. Hang on, here's a thought. When we add Yes, it shouldn't override the parent transform. But what I'm saying is when we add these render entities, right? Do we set their... Sorry, when we add this child, right? We don't set its parent transform to be whatever ours is. So if we do auto em equals service, whether this is this problem or not, this is definitely one that we will need to solve, right? And then we're going to do const auto entity equals em child contract cert em. Sorry, entity, and then we need to do entity set parent transform to be our current transform. I got a feeling that should get set. That should get overwritten anyway when you... Oh, another one that's got to now go into the bloody... Well, to be honest, I'm tempted just to move them all over. I think we're close. Like, I really just got to solve this last little mathsy bit, and then we're basically cooking. Or we are cooking. We're cooked. I don't really understand what the current lingo is. Is that good? Is it bad to cook? Add child entity. Okay, where did... So that now puts it directly at the origin. But setting this, still sending it off wild. What's it we're doing up here? This is... I think we've got to figure out why this is going on, right? So I can add a child entity, fine. But as soon as I touch the controls for that, it starts going really, really strange. Oh, do I need to peel off? Am I multiplicativity? Am I... Help, I'm stuck. I'm having a stroke. Am I... I'm blending in the parent transform twice, aren't I? So if we go to debug renderer... Breathe, yes, thank you. For a sub child, for a sub entity, I take its multiplicatively that one. I basically, right, here's what I think the problem is, right? We get the sub child and we want to mutate its position in world space, but we only want to set the local transform that would result in that. So this transform here is its parent times its local. We mutate that, and then we set its transform here, which will set it only as its new local, which will then get the parent multiplied back in. So each frame will just keep multiplying the parent back in. Didn't we solve this for physics? I'm sure we solved this for physics. Yes, you need to do this. I was convinced we've solved this before. So let's do... So parent equals... So do need to expose the parent transform to make this work. All right. Okay. Right, and then so this will become entity parent transform. Invert the parent. The hell's the world matrix? That is the original transform. So I think this needs to become. I'll just keep calling that. Should I change that? World matrix. So let's call transform world matrix. I'm in the bloody light one, aren't I? Bloody fuck's sake. Sorry, excuse me. We'll get there in a minute. Unfortunately, it's just the way I've kind of organically come up with it, and I'm not saying it's right. I probably need a bit of a review. And then that becomes the new local. Yeah, it really should just store one and they should just get pushed down, right? But I probably need a way of, I guess rather than entity storing the parent, it probably just needs a way of multiplying in a new parent matrix. I think there's definitely a way of simplifying this. I've just, again, kind of organically ended up with this way. I was just going to quit that, mate. I didn't even want that. I'm trying to get like some sort of parent-child relationship for the entities working, so that we can kind of add stuff to other things and have that do things in the game. Right. Okay. So we're going to add a new child entity, which is going to appear exactly there. This is the new child entity, so I can now, there we go. Okay, so I can move that freely, and then if I move the parent, there we go. Right, so let's select the child, add to it the goon. Right, so sci-fi rifle, so let's push the out and do that and that, and I guess move it up one. Oh yes! Oh yeah! Suck it, maths. Oh, that's so nice. That is absolutely. So now we can disable the snapping and get fine-grained control over it. There's another little tweak I want to do so that we can have basically, what I want to be able to do is have the debug layer looking through the player camera, so we can still have the gizmo, so we can then select that and move it exactly where we want it to be. Right, okay. We're getting there now. Right. Properly handle child transforms, and this is add child entities. So no, because the camera relative movement from the camera will suck. So my plan is to have it just so that it still thinks it's the debug layer, so the controls don't move the player. It's just that the game is paused, but you're looking through that camera with all the debug UI and everything, but all the debug controls. So you're basically just selecting which camera is being rendered, but you'll still be in debug mode. That's kind of, I think, what we probably want for now. So what do I want? I need a way of disabling the enabling the locking. So I think if we do debug renderer, we do bool snap enabled. Debug renderer. Enabled pulse, and then in inspector we can do right at the top here. If an entity is selected, then we can do im GUI checkbox enable snap, and then this will have third address of snap enabled. All right, and then we can go down to Gizmo, and then here, and then basically if so snap translation, I think that needs to be, then we can do snap enabled that else null pointer. Not moving the cameras, literally just I've got a plan. Let me get this committed up and then we'll see. Okay, so now we should be able to add a child entity. Oh yeah, much better, much better. So then we should be able to do sci-fi rifle, move you out a little bit, and then like this. So at the moment we could do it like this, but this is a massive pain, right? So we like, okay, so it needs to come like up a bit. And then like this way a bit and this way a bit. But like this is really tedious. You need to be able to do this in real time. So yeah, but yeah, like that. Pew, 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 pew. Yes, I want it off by default, I think, because I think we're going to be doing a lot of this at the moment. And then when I go back to, so if we enable snap, this should be, ooh, is that, I should be able to, yeah, this only moves along the snapping. Pew, 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 pew. Oh, man, almost feels like a game. Look at that. I just wish this level was complete so I didn't just like fall. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. Why has that been left behind? Oh, I've just fallen into the void now. Okay, right, let's enable toggle snapping. So this now goes away. don't hard code gun. Actually, trying to think, what's the correct next choice? Is it to refactor how all the camera works so that we can toggle that in, or is it to make sure that we can serialize this scene? Because at the moment I have to add that gun every single time, which is a massive pain. I think you might be right. Okay, fine. Let's just see what happens when we try and serialize this, because I suspect it doesn't. I did fix up a little bit of the serialization because I had to move the lights out of change how the lights worked. But I don't think it currently handles child entities. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and it's let me know if you've got any industry tips or anything that I'm missing. I'm aware that consoles tend to ship with their own compilers or versions of compilers, so you don't always get 26. So this game will never be on a console, but it is the price I pay. Right. Okay. So let's click this. Let's do this again. Let's add a child entity. Drop him down. Add. I'm so pleased with this now. By the way, this is really nice. I can almost feel the ability to run around and shoot stuff. We're so dangerously close. So I just attach the stairs. I really don't want to be doing this anymore. Wasn't even fun the first time. It's certainly not fun now. I've become like blind to it. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting real eggy with this. Right, I've lost the bloody gun. Come on. Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's shift this out. Do a really good rotate. That was pretty good. Probably just needs to just come out just a little bit. I know this is not the point of this exercise, but like I'm kind of... There we go. Boom. Pew, 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 pew. A lot of the serialization and reflection work is already done. I just whether this... And you can check the source code for this, by the way. I'll bring it up in a minute. Right, okay, so that's there. Can I select the gun? Oh, I can. Right, okay, I'm going to... Oh! Fuck. I've not added the save button back in after I refactored the UI, so that's the thing to look at. Gee, I've spent a lot of time finding the gun. Okay, where's the... It's my stream. Draw scene. I can't remember how the serialization code worked now, so I guess the first thing I'm going to want is if imgui button save. I'm going to have to look it up. I literally cannot remember. Nathan Banks GitHub. Yes, it's because the way I've used ranges and views. I'd need to first take a copy of it and then sort it. I will do that. Just not going around to it. Right, so let's do debug renderer. Can I? Here we go. Right. Save. Right, so I need this. Is it really that easy? Huh? I don't really have any opinion. I don't do a lot of native GUI work, so I have really little opinion like on any of those. Ooh. It's been a while since I've called this, and because it's templated, it only now is all coming out of the woodwork. I think that's now that, and then this will be can I just do can I get out the data? I think I can just do lm.data. Don't need to filter it. I think I can just do that. I think that will serialize all the lights. I did see the eclipse. I don't know what the rad debug philosophy is, so like I'm aware of the project and I'm aware who's working on it, but I don't really follow it, so I don't really know what the philosophy, as in like I know it's like kind of just sort of C based, right? Right, let's see what happens when we click the big save. I'm just going to slap the gun. I'm just going to slap the gun on, or any entity on. I can't really remove anything at the moment. Okay, right. So let's just see if we can add a child entity and serialize that first before we get too ahead of ourselves. So can we save? So that saved something. And it did make a difference. Oh, interesting. I think that's fine. So the intensity is fine. That'll change. Small position changes. I don't think these are like rounding errors and stuff. Oh, here you go. So it's create a new player with the ABB. Interesting. So it's gone through and it's not. What it's not done is it's not in any way noted that this is a child of this. So I suspect when we run this again, that relationship is lost and it will just be in the scene as a top level entity. Or it will just crash when you run it. Could I please have a log? That would be nice. Okay. Player does not exist. Sure. Scene 179. this is the issue we have been silently ignoring the whole time, in that the entity name was always given the same name as the render entity, right? But player doesn't have there's no render entity called player, so this is now fundamentally broken. So how do we fix this? This is going to be this is going to be tricky. I think it was worthwhile doing this because this is going to be tricky. So this is the issue here, I suspect, is it's trying to let's bring up the scene file. So we've got the player, and it has no rigid bodies. What all these do is they basically cheat, and they say, look at this name and go and find the render entities for it. That we have to replace that. It has to have an entity name, and then it will need a list of render entities itself. Okay, so the easiest, I think, we very well may end up having to throw away most of the scene that we've got, because this is going to fundamentally change potentially the serialization, or sorry, something bitten me, or we just might be able to budget. Anyway, let's solve one problem at a time, which is the imminent problem that the description is no longer fit for purpose. Of entity. This then needs a std vector of std string of render entities. All right, let's fix this first, and then we will have to work out the parent-child relationship, which I imagine will be just another vector of strings, but it's not the end of the world, right? So let's do description. Can I get the name back? Given I now only have a handle. Oh, grim. Grim. So the issue here is I give it a name and then I get a bunch of render handles back, right? But given any one of those handles, of which there might be multiple spanning multiple groups, how do I coalesce that back into a vector of these names that were passed in? Ooh, tricky. I reckon I'll have to just do this the grim way, which is fine because you'll probably only be doing this on serialization. I'm not a fan of it. Render entity. The other thing is that render entity knows its group name. I mean, you could construct render entity with a name of its group. Do I prefer that? Do I prefer that? Do I have std string group name, and then do I have const expr auto group name const string view? Stan, I think I might prefer this. It's easier than doing a whole host of bookkeeping, like a lot of bookkeeping. Yeah. Right, okay, so now wherever we construct the render entities, which is in main, load render entity manager, we need to, assuming I have, do I even have, I do have access to the name now, so that's fine. So that is name. Yeah, okay, fine. That does kind of tie that up together quite nicely. So then back to entity, when we add the description render entities, we need to do right, let's do dot render entities equals, Jesus, this is gonna be grim. This is gonna be one hell of a range, by the way. Auto rem equals service render entity manager. Right, let's see if we can construct this range. Give me some space. Right, so we're going to want to do render entities, right? To stood ranges filter return auto e return em. So if it exists, right, filter out all the ones that have since gone off and done something else, right? Then stood ranges thank you, yeah. Then pipe that to stood ranges transform auto e to return remi group name. Then this is the bit I'm not sure about. I want to do something like stood views unique. I think what I might actually do is stood ranges to stood vector, right? And then put all this in a stood ranges unique. That should be views. Don't know why I went so mad on ranges. Basically, you're going to go through every single render entity inside of it and grab the group name of it. But obviously, because multiple render entities, a group can contain multiple render entities, you're going to get that group name multiple times. But you might have multiple render entities attached to it, so you need to kind of find a unique set of all of them. So I think if I take the render entities, filter out the ones that no longer exist, transform them into the group name, I may need to convert that to a std string at that point, actually, because that's what it's expecting in the output. Convert that to a vector and then unique the whole thing. Let's see what happens. Oh, that didn't build it. Sorry. Render entity shouldn't need data because it is the vector itself is a range, right? This here is a range. That doesn't help anyone. What is all this? I feel like I've just got a brace mismatch. Oh. Yes, but oh, hang on. Is it off of? It shouldn't be off of this. This here is that. I guess also actually let's just whilst I'm here. Oh, here I just assume that. Oh, oh, interesting. Here I do it slightly differently. Obviously, I first convert them into all the optionals, and then I filter out the empty optionals, rather than filtering out all the empty ones and then having to do the transform again. That is better. But it doesn't help me now. Right, hang on. So is it unhappy? Let me just check it is unhappy with this. Ooh, that's not what I wanted at all. Okay, I've messed up somewhere else then. Oh, that's just missing the initializer for it. So if I do dot render entities equals that. So it's definitely something my horrific. Can you unique that? I should be able to, because it will create a temporary. It'll be a PR value, but it should materialize and then unique should extend the lifetime of it. Okay, I've messed up somewhere else though. What is all this? Main 226. Let me just try and get this working first. Oh yes, of course, this will now need a sprite name. That's fine, we can do that. I might need one for cube as well. Well, it's just linking now, so I think that's fine. So let's go back to entity. Right, okay, fine. So what does it not like about this? Let's remove the unique, right? Let's just peel off the layers. Onions have layers. I'm sure you can pass in a temporary range to source it. If not, we can hoist it outside and then into a, so it's and then pass it as an L value. Interesting. It looks like it is the unique. Okay, fine. Well, that's not the end of the world. So what we can do is we can do auto render entities. Entities equals. But actually, it's just easier thing to do is just yank that, right? Grab that, delete that, do auto there, stick that there, and then do stirred ranges unique. Am I using unique correct there? Oh, does that have to be sorted for unique to work? I don't think this is what I want. Eliminates all except the first element from every consecutive group of equivalent elements from the range. Has it got to be sorted? Oh no, this will work. But only out of groups, so I probably have to sort it first. Here you go. Sort followed by a unique to remove all duplicates. Okay. Okay, and then we can just do the move render these. What have I? Oh yeah, good spot. Not quite sure what happened there, but I think I got it sorted. Oh, what you chatting about now? Why? But I just want the side effect. I don't care about the iterator pair that it returns. Silence. Straight into the void hole. I mean, I'm technically handling the return type. So this should crash when we run it. Because it won't like the old serialization. Yeah, okay. Yes, my code is probably not the most, like, I try and explain it in a beginner friendly way, but I think if you're just looking at it, it's using quite a lot of advanced C++, so it's definitely not beginner friendly, but hopefully there's something in there for everyone. Oh god, so what problem was I trying to solve? Player does not exist. Okay, fine, so now we have this for serializing it. I now need to add this into, this is the problem now, so I now need to go and add this into the scene file we already have. It's quite a lot of code. I would rather fix it for, I think the fix is easy. I think what I need to do is do name for all of these. And then do QA yank P p down render entities. I think that's it, right? So this will add that name as this render entity, right? So this will add, heat's getting to me. This will create a list, it is arrow based. Yeah, so like we have the rigid bodies and all these descriptions, right? I now have a render entities of this. So I think then all I can just do is do n and then do a. Whoa. Where am I? That didn't work. Right. QA yank B render entities FA Q N. Didn't I have this problem before where my macro took me to a random file? Try a different letter? Alright, so does that work? If I do B, right, so that works. I spelled it wrong. So QA yank B render entities F space right, okay, that seems to work. Weird. I need to pick, some of these have got duplicate names as well, which is bad. But right, so not that one. Not that one. And there you go. Right, okay, fine. So let's see if this, I suppose these need to have render entities. I think it's tilde is like an empty array. I've just realized I've not done the make command that switches it so you can see it. But that's okay, it still crashes. Okay, fine. Player does play. Why is player still not existing? Like, what's it trying to do? Where's it actually trying to do this? In scene 179. I've probably got to wire this in now, haven't I? Okay, so now, yes, okay, fine. So now it's not entity description, is it? I need to, what I need to do now is do this. Okay. And then do for const auto render, so for const auto group name in entity description dot render entities, and then do new entity add render entities rem group name. I need to add them afterwards now that I've resolved them. Does that make sense? Have I lost anyone? because I cannot just assume, I can no longer assume that the entity name is the name of the one and only group of render entities that I want. I have to kind of construct the entity first and then backfill it with the render entities. Okay, we're back. A few more squares there than I was expecting, but no, never to worry. I do have, it's players created in main, isn't it? So I need to remove that. Is this gonna, which one? And I now no longer have, right. So main, player. I no longer want this. No, it's created here, right? This is where it's added. I create the new player here, and then add scene. So I need to now pick this. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Sorry. It's here. It's in main, right? So now, after I've constructed the scene, I now need to get out of it the player entity. Fuck. I think the easiest way of doing this is actually doing this via the EM. So let's do let's do em dot data. No, let's do stud ranges find if, right? Const auto e return e dot name equals player, and then we'll do ensure player entity handle does not equal stud. Oh shit! So I give you a, it's a span, isn't it? So I think that's fine to call like that. No player in scene. And then this would be star. Global entity handle player. I mean, it's going to be the only entity called there's a global array of entities, right? It's going to be the only one called player. But yes, I do see what you mean. Yeah, I think if you rely on it too much, you just it almost becomes like any addiction, right? You've got to construct yourself a system where you can kind of wean yourself off of it, or cold turkey it, or just kind of force yourself to stop using it. But I do get it is tempting. It does offer up all the answers, right? So I think my thinking on this and kind of the over reliance of it, or certainly, or just especially when it comes to teaching and stuff like that, is if you bash your head against a problem, right, repeatedly, and then you solve it, your brain is going to be I should remember this so I don't have to go through that misery again in the future, right? If the answer is just handed to you, your brain has no reason to retain that information. Why would it expend energy remembering that if it knows it can just ask again and get it in the future? So you know, I think this is why learning through making mistakes and kind of going through the motions of writing stuff out and bashing your head against problems helps you build up that memory, because your brain is lazy at the end of the day. It's not going to expend energy on something it doesn't have to. What it wants to do is prevent you having misery again. So if you deny yourself the misery, then you're kind of denying yourself the learning opportunity. But again, but there's a balance, right? Because if you're if you need to get stuff delivered, and it's not everything is necessarily worth the mental faculties of remembering stuff. Like, AI is useful for kind of automating stuff and speeding up stuff. I'm not saying don't use AI. I'm absolutely not anti AI. I just think it has a really weird place in education at the moment. That should be yes, that's correct. I mean, I've had some pretty traumatic C++ error messages before, and I've obviously, I'm pretty sure I've blocked those out. It's really nice if this just comes back and the player is there. I mean, obviously, once I get this thing working. Interesting. That gives me the, shoot, that gives me the entity, not the handle. Interesting. Okay, this is the wrong abstraction. I need to find if handles. I'm going to posit that all handles exist at this point, because no game logic has yet removed any of them. So I think we are safe to do that, and then this will become there. Oh no, that's right. Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's discipline is the key to proficiency in anything, right? Just doing the same thing over and over again until you get good at it. Oh, fuck off. Not you. C++. What? Oh, yes, of course. Have I even got an EM anywhere? I do. Okay. Sometimes it do be like that. Oh. Why does it not like... What does handles return? Handles return handles, which returns... It is a vector of handle. Oh, it's a copy. It's a copy. It's clever that it knows that. This find if is different to this. I really could not recommend you a master's thesis topic. It's been so long. I've been out of academia for many, many years, and I couldn't even begin to tell you what the current landscape is and what people sort of want and need. So I do apologise. I probably cannot help you there. Take control. Aha. Cheeky. Something you're interested in, like if you're going to be doing it for a year, I would probably recommend finding something you're interested in. Right. Do I release this kind of Steam? Undecided. Right. Oh, look at that. Right, so this is back. This is back. These are not anchored anymore is the only thing. So the next thing to do is to comment this up. We've got time for a little bit longer. I'm so sweaty. So what was changed was this to serialize. It just needs to serialize now the parent-child relationship and then reconstruct that when it deserializes it. So this was serialize. So let's do, and then this. So hang on, this is store group name in render entity, and something in main which does this as well. So that was this and this. So I think we can probably append that. To entity was to commit serialize render entities in an entity. Hello. Is that just save scene? That is going to deserialize render entities. Add back save scene button, and this is okay. Integrate changes. Okay, right. So super quick. We want to do in an entity. They should have. I'm really pleased with the reflection-based serialization. Like just adding these new members, like just ends up in the YAML file is really nice. All entities have a name. I think at this point now we're going to have to make sure they have unique names, otherwise it's going to get very confusing. But it's fine. Children, okay. And then I think in here what we will do is we will do auto. Actually, this is a one-liner. I am pleased with the reflection. Dot children equals children pipe to stud. I prefer doing it this way actually. So stud views transform auto e return em e. Need to add that. Alright, G, alright, so convert that into an optional reference to the thing, then stud views filter that on const auto e return e, then do stud views transform const auto e of only the optionals we know that have this, return e name. Stud ranges to stud vector, right? Yes, I'm aware of indirect polymorphic. They basically give you value-based semantics on dynamically allocated objects. I've not had a chance to use them yet, and I keep forgetting they're there, and I'm not sure if GCC supports them, but I'm sure I'll kind of get into the sort of memory model of using them at some point. Right, children into transform into an optional ref, filter out the ones that don't have a value, and then turn those into the name into a vector. When it deducts, it should do, yeah, because name will return a. Oh, is it? No, good point. Great point. That's so that needs to be the string because that becomes a string view. No, that's not how C++ works. It's just a little cheat because if I just return E, it will deduce to the optional type, so it'll just be effectively a no-op. Put an exclamation mark before it forces it to invoke the explicit bool operator, but it'll basically say, does this not have a value? So putting another one before it inverts it, so it basically says it checks if it has a value. It's basically less typing than that. There's nothing kind of, it's a bit of stunt C++. How do return? What? What have I missed? Oh, I messed something off horrifically here. I fixed it, but is it still balked? Doesn't like this. Is it because because I can't have a semicolon there, can I? Because it's aggregate initialization. What? But template type deduction error is almost certainly because one of the things is ill-formed. It doesn't like this. Why does it not like this? Children is a vector of entity handles. Those get transformed into entities, or sorry, optional references to entities. That then goes into that, which goes into range to vector. I don't understand. Should be the same. It should be basically exactly the same as the one above it. Anyone see my mistake? Where's the definition? I do actually have this in the description, don't I? Yeah, vector of strings for children. What are you? Oh my goodness, look at this. Something's not invocable. It almost certainly means one of those lambdas is ill-formed. Here we go. No match for operator. Offer. Here you go. No match for entity manager and oh. Shit. No, I need to move over to the bloody frickin' CP file, because I can't use entity manager outside of that. It's just such an unintuitive error message. I might just put everything out to that CP file. We're not using any of it at constant extra time anyway, that I'm aware of. It's just nice to have. Oh, that's so frustrating. That sounds like an off-stream quiet evening with a beer, something to do. Right. So now, annoyingly, I need to delete that child so I can re-add it. Because I've removed the delete button because I've cleaned up all the inspector. I need to add that back, but I don't want that child to be in here. I want to re-add it and serialize it and check that it gets serialized as a child, and then reconstruct that as a child on initialization. So let's do this. Let's add a child entity, move that there, and then let's go for broke. Let's do, see if I can find it. Add that. Gonna just move it out just a little bit. Right, let's save that. Okay. So now, all right, unique gubbins didn't work, did it? Why is that in there 3 times? But at least this is a child, so I guess I can fix that up later. Why is that? What? I don't understand why that didn't unique it. No, well, I'll have to check. I'm pretty sure the gun is in one part with 3 subparts. So each of those render entities is resolved to this handle. Right, I just don't understand why it's not... Oh, of course, because it doesn't... Oh, sorry. In my hubris, I've been like, actually... Yeah, unique just moves all the non-unique ones to the end and tells you where they are, and then you just slice those off. Right. That's why it's no discard, because there's literally no point in calling it if you're not going to do that. Anyway, okay, so now we go back to scene. So what I think I need to do now, is after I've added... The easiest way is probably to do this in 2 passes, right? So everything's going to be flat, okay? So I add all the entities, and then I think I want to go back through all the entities again, and then add the children, now that I know they've already been added. So I think, because of the way the YAML works, the definition might be in the future. So let's resolve them all first, and then we can do... I think I need to store these in a... Let's do auto lookup equals string map entity handle, and then at the end of this do lookup entity description dot entity description dot name equals new entity handle, right? So we'll keep a track of all the, we'll keep a track of all the entities we've created, all the handles of the entities we've created to the names that they were created with, and then we can go back through each of the in fact, actually, do I even need to do that? I think it's actually easier to do oh no, I do need the description, don't I? So go back through each description, entity description, do const auto entity equals lookup entity description dot name. So retrieve the handle back, right? And then do for const auto child in entity description children. Okay. I think the transform is going to be an issue here, because isn't it going to serialize the, it's going to set its absolute transform, and then this is going to come along and treat that as the, what am I trying to say? I would have serialized its world space transform, but I would need to turn that somehow back into the local one. Could I not? Well, no, because I need the children's still stored in the description, right? That's the thing that's being deserialized from the YAML. So I will need to get back. I will have to loop back through the description, because I have to pass the description in two phases. One, build all the entities, and two, resolve all the relationships. But all that information is still in the description. So I might as well just build a little lookup to do as I go along, right? Because now, let's just see what happens here. So now I should be able to do const auto child handle equals lookup child, right? And then I'm going to want to throw an exception here, because this is effectively passing user input, so I'm going to be absolutely strict here. Stood I want to do child handle does not equal stood ranges send lookup, not child not found child, right? Okay. And then I want to do em entity add child handle. I think that's going to work for us. I think potentially, anyway. I think the transforms might be wrong, because I think it's going to try and I think it's going to apply the parent transform twice. Oh, that's not C++. Nah, it's C++. Always need more curly braces. I'm pretty close to just stopping this, because I'm going to melt. But oh shit, right, let's see if we can get this working. If we get this working, I don't think we're going to be doing the camera governance tonight, but it'd be really nice to be able to just save and bring back exactly where we were. Oh my goodness. Why is it not like that? Oh, sorry. No, it's because I'm just getting and creating it in place rather than checking if it exists. And now this needs to be But yeah. String map is just an alias for an ordered map with heterogeneous lookup. Although the heterogeneous lookup's not working, I need to fix that on my to-do list. It's a map lookup, so you get the key and the value. Obviously. I'm expecting the transform to be off. I'd be pleasantly surprised if it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know where the gun is. The gun is up there, so it's definitely off, right? And look at oh, and it's crashed. Oh no, it's not. Okay, so that works. We just need to peel off the. Yeah, it's got a weird origin. But presumably I can bring that back in. Oh, it's not parented it, has it? Interesting. Right, I think that's about as much as I've got brain capacity for today. Let me just comment this up. So this is, I'm gonna call this like first pass serialize child to parent. Yeah. Everyone disappears off. Thank you very much for spending your evening with me. I thought today was good. I thought we got sorry. I thought we I thought we got a lot done. I'm super pleased about this new system. I think it's coming together quite nicely. I don't think we're that far from being able to just parent things together properly and it just working. Do you know what I mean? Attach a gun, attach a light, attach a camera, and then everything just works through that. I think there's a lot of background work to do. I think, like Karan said, we've got to figure out why there's so many transforms there, and there's a few little nitty-gritty bits, but I generally think we are not that far off being able to run around with a gun. Then I will need to figure out physics, because I'm not drawing physics shapes anymore. I'm bored of that. I need to find a way of kind of algorithmically converting the shapes, the meshes that we've got into colliders. I don't think that's going to be a massive problem. And then once we've done that, we'll get some boxes to shoot and have them disappear, and then we can add sound effects and recoil and all sorts of good stuff. And then we've got to get all the raycasting into jolts, man. So much to do. But I think we're making good progress. I'm really pleased with this. I feel pretty confident about this design. It's really nice seeing it come together. That's kind of all I've got. I'm going to hang out for a little bit on Discord and just try and vent the heat out of my office before I expire. What's the temperature in here at the moment, actually? Check my home lab. It is currently 32.6 degrees. And when I started streaming at 8, it was 28. So I've increased 4 degrees in this office since we started, and 50% humidity. Cool. Right. Anyway, that's all I've got. There's no free gifts though. I'm sorry. New video soon. Very soon. I'm about halfway through editing. Longer video. Need 20 minutes. So it's taking long to edit, but it should be good fun. I'll see you all anon.